Welcome to Public Health America. I'm your host, Dr. William Latimer. Here on Public Health America, we speak with experts from an array of specialties across the liberal arts and health professions to provide you with not only the best science, but practical tips to live a healthier life. We also celebrate what studies have long documented, namely the unparalleled value of a liberal arts college education by setting the stage to pursue a career of your choice, increase lifetime earnings, and engage in civil debate. Our experts will share decisions they made and support they received that helped them to beat the odds. By sharing one or two life lessons, their stories may provide you with the inspiration and method to realize your dreams. This is Public Health America. Welcome to Public Health America. I'm your host, Dr. William Latimer. It is my distinct pleasure to have join us today, Rita Borzillo, Center Chair of the Center for Business at Chestnut Hill College. Rita, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So I know you've been doing some cutting edge work with the Center for Business at Chestnut Hill College. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay, well, we've, change comes slowly and business is changing drastically. So what we have done is we've tried to add some new concentrations. So we've added a finance concentration, we've added a supply chain management concentration, which will occur this coming fall. And we have our sports management, which is huge because we have so many athletes here at Chestnut Hill that are business majors. Although we get a lot of sports management minors or concentrations with media communications and other majors in the college. We have a graduate program in organizational leadership that gives is a wonderful program that also has a graduate certificate in leadership development. And we're looking to begin a project management certificate in the fall. It'll be a totally online project management certificate. We've done research and project management is where we're going. And we thought we needed to get on that bandwagon, and we are starting that in the fall. And we're looking to bring additional graduate programs to Chestnut Hill.
That's great. That sounds like a lot of exciting programmatic growth. You know, given the, you make the point, and I agree completely, that things are changing so much more rapidly than I think they used to in higher ed, and higher ed's effort to map on to demand. Tell us a little bit about these programs, the finance concentration, sports management, organizational leadership. Tell us a little bit more about those programs so the listeners can get a sense of what they are and what sort of jobs they can expect to compete for when they're done.
Okay. For the concentration in finance, which was new in 2022, it is it's a four course concentration. There's other courses involved, but there's four very significant finance courses involved. What we have been doing for all our finance concentration students is we've been giving them, or working with them, I should say, internships with our CFO and our controller. So not only are they learning about finance, they are also working within the college system and working in finance, so that when they are able to get a job, when they graduate, they can talk about consulting with Chestnut Hill College in finance and also in the controller's office. So jobs are, I'm going to just say generally jobs in finance, because it depends upon exactly what the student wants. You have banking, you have investing. What does the student want? The neat thing that we're doing is that we also have a number of young and older alumni who are in finance, who we are matching with our students and saying, hey, you want to talk about what type of jobs are out there? Let me contact you with David Stively. Let me contact you with, whomever, so that they can talk to someone that's in the business that's also a CHC graduate. The supply chain management is new. If you look at what's going on in business, if you look at what happened as a result of COVID, supply chain management is the issue. What's happening? Why aren't things getting there? It's all supply chain management. All the major companies, the big box stores, they want people that have expertise in supply chain management. And then there's sports management. Sports management is just huge. It can go from media communications to physical therapy to being assistant coaches to being in marketing to being in advertising. I'm lucky that one of our friends, who is a young lady who graduated from another college, but she now works with Flyers. And she has been taking on our students under her wing and saying, okay, you want to work in sports? These are the areas you should be looking at. This is what you should be doing. In fact, she's been one of our business lecture series speakers. She's come and talked to the students about jobs in sports management, and they arrange all sorts of ways. It's even managing sports facilities. Does that give you a good enough background?
Yeah, that's great. That sounds very exciting and fantastic. What other things do you want to update us on in terms of the Center for Business or the other work you're doing?
I need to talk about two things that are really important to me. One is our business lecture series. Because of COVID, it sort of went away and we brought it back. And in the last 2.5 years, I started at Chestnut Hill in August of 2020. So since August of 2020, we have had Bill McNabb, who's the former CEO of Vanguard. We've had Marcus Allen, who's the CEO of Independence Big, which is Big Brothers Big Sisters, who is an amazing man. What he has brought and done with Big Brothers and Big Sisters is absolutely astronomical. We've had Jack Galati, who's a serial entrepreneur. We have Christopher Cordero, who is into realty management. So as you can see, I'm bringing different types of people in so students can see what jobs are out there. I've had Jack Horan, who is the owner of over 100 franchises. I had Kent and Lori Griswold, who are amazing individuals who talked about healthcare and entrepreneurship. And I am working currently on our spring presenter. So that's really important to me. The second thing that I've done since I've come is I've changed our senior seminar. Initially, our senior seminar was a paper, and they were awesome papers, don't get me wrong, but I really wanted the students to have more hands-on experience. So I took what I had done in a prior job, and I have them in one term put together a business plan. So initially, it was just truly an academic experience, and okay, they made up a business and put it together. So last spring, we got an email from Reverend James Buck, who was from Southern Flames Barbecue out in Chestnut Hill, and said, hey, I'm looking for students that would like to work with me to help me with my business plan. I need work with my business plan. I need work with marketing. Brought him in, and we started working with him. So I had a group in my senior seminar work with him. It has brought us, well, I should say that 2 students are still working with him, consulting with him. And as a result, we now work with Chestnut Hill Business Association. I guess I should step back and say what we do with this is they put together a business plan, and then there's a competition. Similar to Shark Tank, but more like Wolfpack, which is a program that Kent Griswold, he supports entrepreneurs in the Philadelphia area, and he calls it Wolfpack, and there's a show on Amazon with it. So he sort of modeled it after Kent's. So we have Southern Plains Barbecue. They've done amazing things, and now we're working with Chestnut Hill Business Association. So for the fall, we had our first group just with Chestnut Hill Business Association, and the teams were amazing. In fact, one of the businesses, Climb, is asked that we come back, that I have students work with them, excuse me, in the spring, because they need more assistance in planning and marketing and social media and analysis.
Rita, that's incredibly exciting and a very wide palette. Let me ask you this. So it's a competitive region we're in, whether it's Philadelphia or the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic. Obviously, Chestnut Hill, as exceptional as it is, isn't the only college or university that has a business program. Why choose Chestnut Hill?
I have to go back to the SSJs and the reason and the mission behind Chestnut Hill. And I have to go back to how Chestnut Hill works with the difficult student, works with the student. Let me say this. I'm a first generation. So I know what it's like to grow up in a family that parents didn't get past 6th grade, and that what you had to do was you had to work. And if I would come home I can remember studying for the bar exam and being told, Rita, you have to help me clean, because my mother was a housekeeper. And I would say, I got to study for the bar exam. And she said, no, you got to help me clean. We got to make money. So I understand the problems our students have. And I want to make sure they can come to Chestnut Hill. They can be a business student. They can do internships, both externally and internally, and they can be exceptional. They need to know that our faculty, all our faculty, be it business faculty or be it general faculty or our liberal arts, we're there to help them to make sure they're successful. And not just while they're in school. I can't tell you the number of students that call me, call our other faculty, especially the business faculty. Hey, can you give me some insight? I'm going to an interview. They'll call Nancy DeKilly. Can you help me give me insight how to give a better interview? We don't just help them while they're in school. We help them after. And I don't know many schools that do that.
So clearly a focus, a holistic approach on the individual and meeting the individual where they are at and ensuring their success and getting them to the finish line in the form of graduation. So yes, and I've seen it myself. I mean, there's no question that you see the evolution from freshman through senior year, and you just, you really do see the unparalleled transformational value of a liberal arts education linked in this case to business at Chestnut Hill College. We just have a minute or so left. Couple more questions. Talk a little bit about, you've already alluded to this, but the Business Association and all the great speakers of your lecture series. What are some of the experiential learning opportunities that Chestnut Hill College students benefit from in business?
I can tell you that externally, we've had students at major accounting firms. We have a really good accounting department here. And as a result, we've been able to place students in really great top 5 accounting firms for internships and jobs. We have a student that's going to do an internship with Wawa. The other thing we do is we look to local businesses and we say, do you need an intern? Is there something we can do to help you be a better business? And we will send students out into the community and help. So we've done that. Internally, as I mentioned before, we have them work within. So we have an excellent event planner who does all sorts of work here within the college. So we've given her internships who she then has helped teach them how to plan an event and work one-on-one with them. So I guess you could say I put out the tentacles and say, okay, who needs help? And I'll ask local businesses. I can tell you we're getting calls now from businesses. There is a nonprofit in Chestnut Hill that deals with premature babies, and they've reached out and said, hey, we need some social media work. Do you have somebody in your marketing department that'll work with us? And we've sent someone to them. So I guess it's more who needs help, and we make sure they know who we are, so we send it out to them.
That's great. A lot of fantastic work going on at Chestnut Hill College in business and beyond. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Rita Borzillo is going to tell us a little bit about her undergraduate experience and education generally that set her up for the excellent career that she now has at Chestnut Hill College. This is Public Health America. I'm your host, Dr. William Latimer. We'll be right back.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back to Public Health America. I'm your host, Dr. William Latimer. So Rita, we always start this part of the segment with the same question, which is, tell us where you were born and about some of your formative experiences.
I was born in Devon, Pennsylvania. In fact, I live 4 doors away from where I grew up. Now, people would say, here, Devon, and they say, what's in the main line? Well, a number of Italians immigrated and they all lived together. So I lived in an area that was surrounded by, we were all Italian. We all lived there. Everybody, all the parents spoke Italian. We all went to the same church. In fact, our church, you could only be Italian to be a member. I went to an affluent high school that I will never forget this, that I went into the guidance counselor and I want to go to college. I want to be a lawyer. And she said, oh, aren't you just doing too much? You know what? You should be a secretary. And I said, no, I want to go to college. I want to be a lawyer. She said, I really think that you'll never achieve that. You know, you live on the wrong side of the tracks, because where we lived was the wrong side of the tracks of the main line. So I ignored her. I applied to college. I got into a number of colleges. I ended up going to Roanoke College, which is a small Lutheran college down in Southwest Virginia. Wonderful school. Very much like Chestnut Hill, small, everyone knows each other, support. And I was a political science major. And because my parents said if they were going to pay for college, I had to be able to teach. I was the first education major at Roanoke. I graduated. And I wanted to go to law school. And my parents said, you know what? You're a woman. Don't you want to get married and have kids? I said, no, I want to be a lawyer. And so they said, well, you got to take a year off before law school. And so I said, okay, I worked for a year. And then I went to law school. I went to Widener Law School, graduated in 3 years. And I can tell you, I loved law school and I hated law school. But I love being a lawyer. I do. It is. If you ask my family or anyone, they will tell you, okay, Rita, do you always have to, bring it back to the law? And I go, yeah, I do. My first job was a judicial law clerk with a common pleas judge in Chester County, Pennsylvania, Johnny Stively Jr. And Judge Stively was the most amazing man. He was my mentor. And even though he is passed, I still talk to him almost every day. And many times before I do something, I'll say in my mind, hey, Judge Stively, am I doing this right? And he always leads me. I was assistant county solicitor, and I represented Chester County Children and Youth Services. So I did all the neglect, abuse, those type of cases. I became a partner in a law firm, and I continued with CYS. I did criminal defense of juveniles. I did the standard divorce, custody, and adoption cases, and I did a lot of litigation research. I didn't get married till my late 30s, so I had my children in my late 30s, early 40s. And when you're in private practice, you're working 40, 80, 90 hours a week. I wanted to be a mom. And so I left private practice and I joined a multinational corporation, and I did transactional law and juvenile law with them. Now, my husband, the wonderful man he is a social worker. And we all know social workers are very well needed in this country, but they don't make much money, which is really sort of sad. That's a whole nother topic. And so I started adjuncting. To help, bring in money for the family. And I eventually became a full-time professor at Eastern University. And I was the director of their non-traditional MBA programs. I was an adjunct for Trinity Western University, where I taught international law. And in fact, they sent me to Shanghai and I taught in China. And I also taught as an adjunct at Wilmington University in administrative law. Because I think it's important, I've continued with the small private practice. And so I have done some zoning. I have an active license in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I do a lot of pro bono work of wills for members of my church. I became an adjunct at CAC in their non-traditional programs. I taught a business law course for undergrad, and then I was offered the job as chair. And I can't say I really enjoy Chestnut Hill. I can tell you the SSJs are involved in my family. In my husband's job, he worked with SSJs. My daughter's first job, she worked with SSJs. So it seems like we were meant to be in an SSJ family. How's that for a background?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. What a wonderful narrative. I mean, I would like to sort of highlight two things. One is that's I think is clear in your amazing story and narrative is to follow your dream. And what I mean by that is that without necessarily wanting to point fingers at outside folks, but I don't think it's necessarily uncommon that people occasionally get messages that are not fully supportive of their potential. And clearly that was the case with you. And you chose to ignore that and go forward. And that takes some degree of bravery and, some degree of just, stick to itiveness. And clearly you had that and have that, and that's great. The other thing that really shines, I mean, there are many things, but one other thing that shines in your narrative is the real significance of your mentor, in that first position. And, I'm sure that you learned such a great deal from him that you clearly use to this day. Let me ask you this. So you did your undergrad at Roanoke in education. What was that experience like? Was there, since correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're first generation, like, what was the experience of being a first generation college student at Roanoke? Were there any challenges you faced? What was it like?
I'm old. Tell people that all the time. I'm old. And back when I went to college, they never knew what a first generation, the terminology wasn't there. What they did offer me and support me, and I guess it's how you would look at first gen, is I had a great advisor. Now you would call them student success advisors that stuck on me. Hey, do you have problems? I failed at Roanoke. You have to pass English comp with a C, and I got a D my first year. I thought I was like, it was horrible. And I remember my student success advisor saying, okay, you could retake it. It's not a big deal. You can get an A the next time you come, but I want you to keep up. You're not going to give up. So I thought that was really important. So even though they didn't call it student success back then, they were doing that to make sure so they had student retention, so that students graduated, which I did. So, do I remember the person's name now? No, I don't. But I always remember, no, you can do it. And the professors, one of my professors in political science was Dr. Hill, who until he died, I was still in contact with. And I remember when I passed the bar and it was announced, he sent me the most beautiful letter saying, I knew you could do this. You just had to believe in yourself. And I think it's really important, not only that you believe in yourself, but that you get an education. Because once you get an education, my children all have educations. And they have an education because I understand the need for education. So they both have graduate degrees. One's working on her doctorate of social work. So if everybody makes sure they get that graduate degree, undergrad degree, or specific training, you know what? We may not have such poverty. Then you can get jobs. And it's not the entry-level jobs. You're getting better jobs. You have education. Your kids then get educated. Then your grandchildren get educated. And you know what? We don't have some of the problems that we have now. So I'm really passionate about education.
Sure. No, that's fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, kind of the trajectory that you define across three generations, your parents, you, and your children, represent sort of a three-generational movement toward higher education that leads to greater opportunity. And I do think that your narrative is so important because I think these days there is more discussion about what is the value of a college education. And the reality is that the fact that a person with a bachelor's is going to make $1 to $3 million across their lifetime more than a high school grad, like that's just been lost in the ether. And that's the average. That's not counting all the other enormous benefits that you're alluding to, not the least of which is access to healthcare and, as you allude to, access to a real profession that you choose as opposed to just a job. Let me ask you this. So you went to law school at Widener, and you sort of, we've got just a couple minutes left. What was that experience like? It sounds like there was some, good, bad, and the ugly, which is like any graduate experience. But tell us a little bit about that.
I'll go back and say I'm old again, because when I went to law school, it was mostly men. I think there were 15 women in our class. And it was tough. It was really hard. And the women bonded together and we helped each other and we supported each other. And the first year they scare you, the second year they bore you, or first year they work you to death, second year they bore you to death. I'm sorry. First year they scare you, second year they work you to death, and third year they bore you is absolutely true. But it was a very much a bonding experience. And I'm still good friends with I'm friends with my college friends, and I'm friends with my law school, because you go through real deep issues when you're in law school, because so many students graduate but then don't pass the bar exam. So that's a real important thing. People say, "Oh, you're a lawyer." Well, I didn't just graduate. I had to pass a bar exam, and a bar exam is a 2-day, very, very difficult exam. And it's both multi-state and it's essay. And you study for 3 years, you graduate, you're all excited, but now you're cramming for this bar exam. If you don't pass it, you're not practicing law. So I don't know if that gives you some background about law school.
Sure. Rita, with just like a few seconds left, if you had to give advice to our viewers that may be on the fence about whether or not to attend college, what would that advice be?
I would say reach out to a teacher that you respect, or an adult you respect, and talk to them. I would say visit colleges. There's lots. If you're in the Philadelphia area and you're in the New York City area, there's lots of colleges. Go visit them. Ask to spend a day. It's a whole new experience. You learn differently. You learn so much. I can't tell you how much I learned being at college, not with my parents there. Always in the back of my mind, everything I learned as a kid. But you know what? You take some steps on your own. I learned so much. I learned how to stand up for myself. I learned how to make friends. I went to college. I knew no one. And when my parents left, I stood there and cried. And I said, okay, now Rita, turn around. You got to make friends. And I have friends that I have had for many, many years. So talk to people, and don't ever doubt yourself. If you want something, go after it. I'm a perfect example. I was going to be a lawyer, and gosh darn it, I became a lawyer.
That's great. I want to thank Rita Borzillo for sharing your amazing narrative with us. I want to thank our viewers for